In the early 90s, there was only one way to animate characters and objects, which was with celluloid sheets. Celluloid sheets or cel sheets were created by Earl Hugh, or at least he created the idea of animating with them in 1914. Celluloid sheets are thin, transparent sheets which you would place on a light box and start drawing each and every frame on a new sheet. Animations with celluloid sheets take hours upon hours to animate because a second of slow motion has 12 to 24 frames of animation, and each frame needs to be drawn by hand. So a good 6-minute short could take months to animate. This was the easiest and only way Disney could animate their scenes and characters. The first instance where cel sheet animation was on the big screen was Snow White in 1937, but this wasn't Disney's first time on animating with cel sheets. But before we can get to Disney as a company, we need to discuss one of the founders. Walt Disney's full name was Walter L. Earls Disney. He was born December 5th, 1901 in Chicago. When Walt came back from World War I in 1990, he found an occasional employment as a draftsman and inker in commercial art studios, where he met Herb Twain, a young artist whose talents contributed greatly to Walt's early success. Walt, his brother Roy, and Herb started a small studio of their own in 1922. They acquired a second-hand movie camera with which they made 1- and 2-minute animations, advertising films for distributing local movies. Where they distributed films animating advertising films for distributing to local movie theaters. They also did a series of animation cartoon sketches called Laugh-O-Gasm, and a pilot film for a series of 7-minute fairy tales. They contributed both live action and animation. Alice in Cartoonland. A New York film distributor cheated the young producers, and Disney was forced to file bankruptcy in 1923. Walt moved to California to pursue a career as a cinematography, but the surprise success of the first Alice film completed combined Disney and his brother Roy to reopen shop in Hollywood, with Roy as business manager. Disney resumed the Alice series, pursued Herb to join him and assist with the drawings of the cartoons. They invented their first Disney-owned character called Mickey Mouse, and the rest was history. Rubber hose is a style of animation which Disney used a lot in the early days, and they continue to use it to this day to animate all Mickey Mouse's cast. Rubber hose animation was the first distributed style of American animation, and it became the most prevalent form of animation in theaters during the 1920s. The earliest examples of rubber hose animation was the work of Winston McCain, who created Gugine, a dinosaur, in 1914. Rubber hose is a style of animation where the character's limbs are flexible and don't have defined joints. Their limbs are like rubber hoses, as the style name suggests. And the reason the style of animation was so popular was because it was faster and similar to anime at this time. The style of animation has died out, but Disney still uses it to this day to animate all Mickey Mouse's friends. After Disney, the company went bankrupt. Walt went to California and worked as an animator in Universal Studios with Herb Twine, creating small animation shorts. Their first character they made was Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, who was made in 1926, but wasn't released until 1927 in the animated short Charlie Troubles. The final Disney Direct shorts starring Oswald were released in 1928, the same year Walt lost creative control of the character to Universal Studios. And Universal Studios continued to use the character for 25 other shorts until 1938. After Walt was fired and he lost the rights to Oswald, he needed a new character to animate for his own company, Walt Disney Studios. So he made a similar character, Morton Mouse, who was created and debuted May 15th of the same year in the animation short called Crazy Planes, produced by Walt Disney and Herb Twine. Later, Walt ultimately changed the name of Mickey. Walt ultimately changed the name to Mickey after his wife Lillian, objected to what she believed was a more certified name. After Mickey's animation shorts, Disney started releasing full hour-long films, with Snow White in 1937, just before the war in 1939. During the war, some of Disney's animators left to do propaganda for the war, so there was unfinished work left on the table. So anyone left at Disney tried to make a film with half put together stories and characters. And as you can imagine, this led to some really weird and forgettable films like The Reluctant Dragon, Señor Amigo, and The Three Caballeros, which had forgettable characters which Disney never used again, and they barely had a plot, and they had some questionable live action scenes. During this time, Disney also released some of its greatest hits, like Dumbo and Pinocchio, but just because they were great doesn't mean they weren't questionable. For instance, Dumbo has a scene where the main character, who is a child elephant, gets drunk and sees some very wacky hallucinations. And in Pinocchio, it's just as bad, if not worse. In Pinocchio, we see thousands of kids, 2,105 to be exact, get kidnapped, completely drunk, smoke cigars, and destroy a theme park called Pleasure Island. Then top it all off, transform into donkeys and get sold to salt mines. These were definitely some of the most questionable films Disney had made.